Training Center over on Industrial Drive, and hopefully we'll have an update for you with the remarkable progress that's being done at that facility. But we were able to use that facility one night. We built a mock room and we burned it up. We landed a helicopter, cut a police car up, an out-of-service police car, of course, and but we had a really good time. We rode up in ladder trucks, we sprayed water, we learned about emergency management, emergency medical, and just met a wonderful group of people. And I'd like to ask all of them to come up tonight in those cool shirts they got on and stand over here. And I'm going to call everybody that participated and ask them to come to the podium and then stand right over here, and Brian's going to make a picture. But again, it was such an honor to get to know all of you. The crew was so great to work with you, and they were so honored to have you in our fire station. So at this time, let's get them up here. Jennifer Harrison. Come on up here, Jennifer. Okay. Regina Stevens. Regina? Hey, here we go, Regina. Okay. Okay. Allison Hendricks. Congratulations, ma'am. Mary Rassall. Oh, Miss Mary. I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Skip Wayman Wright. Sandra Simpkins. There you are. Pleasure. Okay. Montel Brown. Lori Hall. Samuel Renew. Tina Renew. Michael Renew. Maddie Harrison. Yes. Good job. Pablo Ludlow. Did she come, Pablo? Did she come? Make it? Did make it? Okay. Kathy Etheridge did not make it tonight. She called in. Satal Patel couldn't make it tonight. Aubrey Stevens. Okay. Michael Cole. Matthew Helms. Melissa Davis. Oh my goodness. Claudia Worley. There you are. Okay, good. I knew we had one more. Good deal. I get everybody. Okay, let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. We'll get you to move over here and let's get a group picture.
Claudia, I want you to sit like everybody else on this side, Claudia. Someone like a spokesman or two like to say a few words, or this time? Do you have a class president or anything?
There's always one.
There's always one of us.
Yes, sir.
My memory's not very good at 69, so I've jotted down a few things I would like to bring up. Not concerning not just this class, but the year as a whole.
Yes, sir.
So you might let me tie some of this together, because it's going to start off not so much for the Fire Academy, but let me talk about Saturday's paper.
Can we deal with the Fire Academy if you want to say anything, and then we'll go to
I'm going to tie it in.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I opened up Saturday's paper.
Yes, sir.
I had to look twice. The City of Griffin, Board of Commissioners, tax decrease. Great. I looked down one paragraph. County Commissioners, Board of Commissioners, tax increase. What do you guys know they don't? Okay, I'm going to tie back to that. We have have the best fire department, I believe, in the state of Georgia. It's not just the fire hydrants. It's not just a new station. The Captain Hamilton did an outstanding job and turned him loose on the new training area, new training camp, and I think it will really be phenomenal. I worked for the Atlanta Fire Department back in 1969 for a brief while before I was drafted. Those of us that are my age remember those days. 14 days training, and I was a firefighter. 14 days.
Wow.
Okay. Today, these firefighters, and those of us that are my age that remember, these firefighters have longer and more intense training, in some cases, if not all cases, than I had when I went through basic training at Benning and advanced infantry training at Fort Polk. These guys are phenomenal. They just don't know how to, they don't just have to know how to put out a fire. There's so much more to it now. So, it's not the equipment. It's not that new $1.2 million piece of equipment. It's not that new fire station. It's not the fire hydrants all being within the right place. It makes this department great. It's the men and women from the chief down to the rookie. Without them, we wouldn't have, I don't believe with the equipment we have, without them, we wouldn't have the rating that we do now. So let me tie things together again. Back to where I started. I have taken advantage of the CERT training, the police training, and the fire training. I've lived in Griffin for 17 years, and I've never voted for a SPLOST. Now, I have done a 180 degrees. I will, in all likelihood, and plan to be your strongest advocate for SPLOST, particularly public safety. Chief Yates needs a new building, and we need it. Our fire department needs a new training tower. But tying this, my votes for SPLOST back to where I started at my opening statement. Y'all guys keep up the good work, and I'm sorry we only have one seat vacant, but y'all guys keep up the good work. And city manager over there, it's a good part of their budget to them to budget toward this training. You know, you let them budget all they want to for it. And I plan to do the same thing again next year. I want to stay updated. And Truman's a friend of mine. If there's anything I can do to help y'all with SPLOST, let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Skip, how much did Tommy and Mike pay you for that?
Well, they have paid me over the years in their public service.
Oh, yeah.
Morale in the departments is just phenomenal. The fire and the police department. The morale, it's
Please
just,
spread the word for everyone.
yeah, the morale
We
is
don't have enough
just
of that.
phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
You know, let's look at the fire department, police department for a minute. Those guys, they want training. Chief Yates is going to get it for them.
Absolutely.
Chief Yates keeps us involved in when there's something going on in the city.
All right.
Our fire department, there's not enough you can say about them.
Right.
Unless you've seen them in work. Actually, I only had 14 days training, and I worked for one of the largest departments in Atlanta back in the state back in '69. The training, these guys, and they continue to budget more training for it. The more they know, the more likely to keep me alive.
Right.
You know, and y'all, and keep our fire rates good.
Yes.
So,
Thank you, sir.
Y'all
Thank you for
keep
your
up the
service
good
to our
work.
country. Moving into citizens' comment, at this time, the chairperson opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to specific agenda items not listed on agenda for a public hearing or to a concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. With that being said, is there anybody on my left side that'd like to come before the commission to make any comments? Anybody on my left? Is there anybody on my right side that'd like to come before the Board of Commissioners? All right. Moving into public hearings. Public hearings are conducted to allow public comment on specific advertised issues such as rezoning, ordinances, policy development, operating budgets, and other legislative actions to be considered by the City Commission. Tonight we have 2 public hearings. The first one is to receive comments on the proposed vertical and lateral expansion of the Shoal Creek construction and demolition landfill. Central Services Director Phil Francis will address. Good evening, Mr. Landfill Francis.
We hope. Good evening again. We're here just to answer questions if you have any. I've got Brian Upson here from Paragon that's doing the lead engineering work as far as the expansion goes. As you can see on the display, those are the latest elevation drawings, and I'll get Brian to kind of explain that just a little bit, but we're here to seek any public input and to get your feedback on what we've got planned. This is pretty much the same as what we had several weeks ago in regards to, but EPD has asked for some additional information and some corrective things on some of the plans that we've sent up. But we are anxiously anticipating a permit shortly. But I can't speak for them. But anyway, we're here to answer any questions. And Brian, if you would.
Just to give you a little overview of the drawing on the board, the yellow lines are the proposed fill lines for the new landfill. So we're actually just going right on top of where the other one is. We're going to raise that landfill up, and we're going to start from the bottom side and filling toward the top. So that'll be the sequence. We anticipate 13 to 15 years of life in this new expansion, and the good part is we're behind where we were, so we're really not impacting anybody. So any more detail that I can give you on it?
Well, without it, we're full in how long?
We're rapidly becoming full. Yeah, within a few months. Yeah.
What's the estimated cost?
Who do you want?
I'm sorry?
Estimated cost is
$450,000 to $475,000, which we've got budgeted. We have $1 a ton that we put back in our landfill closure account, as well as $1 a ton in our capital expenditure account that we collect from every ton that comes in, and have been since day one. So the funds are there. We budgeted part of the money this fiscal year and the remainder of the money next fiscal year. So as far as impacting or any other capital exposure to the city or the citizens, it's non-existent.
So if we don't increase this capacity, what's it going to cost us down the road if we got off?
If we don't increase the capacity and we don't get the approvals right now, we're paying ourselves. We pretty much cost us around $23 a ton to actually handle the waste. We'll have to go to paying anywhere from $37 to $40 a ton, plus an $83 an hour operating cost for the vehicles to take them out to, like Tyrone or some of the other places, and that would impact Dr. Keller, it'd impact Dan, anybody in the city as far as every department's operating costs, because every department brings their debris to us. So without that, then those costs go up exponentially, and we don't have, the budget's just gone. I mean, it just has to be revamped, and then it would be very difficult to make it happen.
Thank you.
Did you say how long the project would take? Did I miss that?
We can start accepting waste within, what do you think, Derek, 60 days?
Derek?
I'm not going to sign that.
I have to. After the construction begins and we get the as-built approved, we can start accepting waste within 60 to 90 days. Really, it's going to be a hard. That's aggressive, but we have to be aggressive, or the almost $2 million worth of revenue that we are projecting for that site is in jeopardy.
Bill, I have a
Thank
couple
you.
questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure we've addressed all the concerns from the EPA. When do we expect to hear back from them?
Got a voicemail from Chad Hall, which is the director of the landfill division of the Environmental Protection Division, the other day. Kenny got one and he forwarded it to me, and in essence, the law, according to them, or what they want, is around 14 days after this public hearing, they're actually drafting our permit now. So when the permit's drafted, after around 14 days of comment period from the public, if there are any after the public hearing, I anticipate getting the permit 30 days. That's aggressive, but I can't hardly speak for them. But like I said, again, we've done everything, all the due diligence, all of the questions that have been asked, all of the comments that have been addressed, all of the corrective actions, all of the grammatical changes that they wanted have been done ad nauseum. So, I mean, they're like on revision 3. So, we've done everything that we're supposed to do, and I've been in this business close to 40 years, and I've never seen anything as difficult as getting this done, even through a Subtitle D acquisition. So we're on top of it.
And the soil we're going to get to cover the landfill?
I'm sorry?
The soil, the dirt?
John Bolton. I don't know if you all are familiar with John Bolton. His family owns all the owned at one time the property out by the rock quarry out there off of Rover Zatella in that area. We've got about 100,000 cubic yards of dirt that's sitting there. He's got to clear that dirt off because the mineral rights, or the stone, belongs to Florida Rock, but the dirt belongs to him, and he's got to get rid of the dirt. And he's been in my office several times, and we've got a very good rapport working with that. So we're ready to pull the trigger. The ENS, which is your erosion and sedimentation, controls, have already been approved. Silt fencing is starting to go up. We've already got a contractor to start coming in and getting the sedimentation pond moved. So we got like people sitting at the starting line, waiting on the gun to pull so we can start running. I've done everything in my power. Brian and Jeremy both have stepped up and done things. Kenny's got involved. We've left no stone unturned with this project. So it's very, very important to the city.
Does the board have any other questions?
No.
This is a public hearing at this time. Is there anybody who'd like to come before the board to ask questions or make comments? Last call. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next public hearing item is to receive comments regarding a resolution that adopted 2008 calendar year tax millage rate, proposes a rollback rate of 7.639 mils. Kenny Smith will address. Yes, sir.
Well, the good news is our digest increased a little bit last year. Motor vehicles continued to decrease with the new TAVT. But our rollback rate should give us close to our budgeted amount. We are anticipating with a 95% collection rate about $4 million. We budgeted $4,071,000. So 95% is about average. There have been years where we've collected more than 95%. So we should be on a good target for about $4 million, between $4 million, $4,100,000. So staff is recommending that we go with the rollback rate of 7.639, which is a reduction in our millage rate from 7.771.
And on a 5-year graph, we basically are reducing almost a full mill in 5 years. So excellent work from your staff and diligence to get us here. Does commissioners have any questions or comments?
None.
This is a public hearing. At this time, would anybody in the audience like to come before the board to address the millage rate being set tonight? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving into the consent agenda, we've got items 5, 6, and 7. And 7 is the minutes. So I think, Ms. Murray, you were absent last meeting. So if we can look at taking items 5 and 6 together, do we have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ms. Murray with a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of approving items 5 and 6 on the consent agenda, please raise your hand. 6-0. Moving to the minutes of the August 14 meeting, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCord with a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. You need to abstain, Ms. Murray.
Sorry.
You were absent.
Abstain, yeah, I'm sorry.
So it'll be a 5-0-1, Ms. Murray abstaining. Moving to the regular agenda, consider for approval the resolution adopting the 2008 property tax rollback rate of 7.639. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Tinsley with a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 9 is consider agreement between the Central Georgia Railroad Company and the City of Griffin, allowing the city to install, maintain, operate, and remove an aerial crossing of a 144-strand fiber optic cable located over and across the right-of-way on property and any tracks of railroad located at Experiment Street and West Cooley Street in the amount of $16,100. Chief Information Officer Jack Pullen is available to address. What do we have here tonight, Jack?
Glad to be here.
Welcome.
Glad to see everybody. What we're trying to do is increase our bandwidth, and to do that, our carrier right now is on the other side of the railroad track that we need to connect with to go up to 56 Marietta. And so in order to get across the railroad track, we've got to have a permit, and it's a railroad company. And so this is just to get the permit going so that we can take the fiber from this building to the carrier's point of contact and go on to 56 Marietta. Now what this will do, it will give us the ability to grow and increase our bandwidth for our businesses that we desperately are looking at needing in the future, as well as give us redundancy, because we're using Georgia Public Web, and Georgia Public Web is our carrier now, but it'll give us redundancy from 56 Marietta back into Griffin, but we won't get isolated. I mean, this is a win-win. It's more than just going to 56 Marietta to increase our bandwidth, but it also gives us redundancy for the city's internet.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Murray with a second. All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Thank you, Jack. Item 10 is consider approval of bid and work contract. Approval of bid and work contract with traffic signal upgrades to low bidder R.J. Haney and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $756,680.50 from 2016 SPLOST funds for the Public Works Department. Dr. Keller will address. Good evening.
Second.
Mr. McCord with a motion, Ms. Ward with a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 11, consider resolution affirming the appointment of Lisa R. Reeves as Associate Municipal Judge and approving the compensation for said position.
Make a motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Murray with a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor of appointing Ms. Lisa R. Reeves as Associate Municipal Court Judge, please signal by raising your hand. All against, like sign. 6-0. Item 12 is to discuss the creation of the City of Griffin Student Advisory Commission. Chief of Staff Jessica O'Connor will address. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. This year I had a goal, and the city had a goal as a whole, to create a youth advisory council, or what we are now calling a student advisory commission. I have met with the school board on several different occasions asking for their support in regards to this endeavor, because this will be for students in 10th and 11th grade. We are asking that they have recommendations from a teacher and also from somebody, another adult within their lives. We will begin January of 2019, and we're asking for 12 students. These can be students in public school or private school, but they will either have to attend a school in Spalding County or live within Spalding County in order to be eligible for the council. When we went to the retreat last week, I found that we do have a youth advisory council here, but it's very different than what this is, so we just, in an effort to make sure we don't make anybody confused about it, we're going to call it the Student Advisory Commission. This will be really specific to government. So what we're going to do is ask these students to come in and meet with us once a month, and they're actually going to make recommendations to you all as a commission on issues that would be pertinent to them as the youth in our community. We want to hear from them, and we don't feel like we do very much now. Our recruitment and retention work group has also suggested this as an option in order to get people interested in government work. As you all know, we have staffing issues here, and I think a lot of that is because people don't know the options that we have here. So we want to make them aware. We want them to participate with us, and we want y'all to be a part of that as well. Because this is a new endeavor, we're not sure exactly how that will look at this point, but we just wanted to present it to you all, make sure you knew what we were doing. I will be getting these applications to the school within the next week or so, also to some independent schools as well. So we've met with the social studies chairs at Griffin High and Spalding High, Dr. Warren as well, and he's very excited about it. And so they will get out applications for us and get them back to us, and we will have our Student Advisory Commission chosen by Thanksgiving. They'll participate in an orientation in December, and then they'll start with us in January.
How long do they stay on, or how is it?
It's a year, so they will have to reapply at the end of the year, the same as if they hadn't done it before. Whether or not we'll, just depending on the amount of applications will depend on if they can do a second year. We're not saying they can't. We want to get as many people involved, though, so it'll have to be a really strong applicant to make sure that they're able to do a second year. So we do think this will be more towards people that are leaning toward public service or maybe want to be attorneys or something in that realm that will be more interested in this. And we're really looking forward to what we'll get application-wise. We're not going to require a certain GPA. We don't want to discourage anybody from participating. We will look at everything. They'll have to submit essays, and we'll have an interview with them too. So it'll be a pretty strenuous application process, and which is why we're asking to go ahead and do this now so that we have time to get them on board and ready to go.
And you said they have. Go ahead. Sorry. Well, they have to live and go to school both, or either or?
No, either or. So if they go to St. George's or they go to Strong Rock or somewhere, then as long as they live in Spalding County, then that's fine. If they, obviously for the most part, if they're in school in Spalding County, they probably live here. But there might be some that, have parents that teach here, and so they do go to school here and live in Butts or something. But if they're in school here, we'll allow that as well.
Great, that's awesome.
Jessica, what about those that are homeschooled?
They can participate as long as they live in Griffin, Spalding. Now, we will post this on social media to try and get the word out that way. I'm not sure if there's any homeschool groups that we can figure out how to get it to them as well. Paper hopefully will help us with that. So it's open to anybody that is a 10th or 11th grade student. And if there's some questions about what they are grade-wise, we'll just sort of play that by ear as we look at it.
I think we'll be one of the pioneers of this.
There are, let's see, there's about 20, I think, in the state. I've been in communications a lot with Dublin. They have a really good program there. So I've talked with the executive director of theirs. And I mean, they range. There's some that have 7 members. There's some that have 85. They range in budgets from nothing almost to like $85,000. So this year it'll be treated sort of like a Citizens Government Academy for us. We won't have, a huge budget. We'll provide them some food every once in a while, a shirt, and then we'll hopefully grow it in the next couple of years and ask for donations from the community or other avenues to try and make it a big program for us.
Exciting.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Ward with a motion to approve. We have a second. Mr. Brock with a second. All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor, for your hard work on this. And final agenda item is consider a contract to purchase of 122 West Bank Street, Griffin, Georgia, from Virgil W. Heath in the amount of $55,000 plus closing costs, and amend the budget accordingly. Ms. Smith will address.
This is just formalizing a real estate contract for the purchase of 122 West Bank Street, which is currently a cycle repair shop and owned by Woody Heath. This was discussed back in February with the board, and this is just formalizing the sales contract. We will have 60 days for due diligence to exercise our due diligence on that property and hope to close in about 60 days.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tinsley with a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the acquisition, please raise your hand. 6-0. Excellent, folks. All right, moving to City Manager's report. Mr. Smith.
Well, I hate to tell you this. Our CDBG streak came to an end.
I didn't have to, it's because I didn't sign a waiver or
Is that what it was? After 9 consecutive CDBG grants, we didn't make the cut this time. So I guess there were some other places that needed it worse than we did, and after 9 consecutive, they thought we might could do without it. But we're going to jump back on it again next year and try to get our streak back alive. Offices will obviously be closed Monday for Labor Day. Our comp plan steering committee meets tomorrow at noon at the senior center. We're wrapping that up. Drafts of the comp plan has been put out by Three Rivers, and we'll be going through that tomorrow at noon. And we'll have some sandwiches if you want to stop by. Citizens Government Academy starts next Thursday after Labor Day. 6:30, we'll be in this room. This is our introductory night, so we'd love for you to stop by and have a word with the class. We've got 27 people in the class.
We got 3 openings.
We could squeeze some more in there if you got some more. 27 is a pretty big class.
Somebody in mind?
Sir?
I believe Holly has somebody in mind.
Okay. We can add them at the last minute.
I think Bill would do a great job in the class.
Look at him. He looks so bored over there. Yes.
Really? No. And on a sad note, many of you probably have heard by now, our 35-year veteran of water wastewater, Mr. James Beasley, passed away after a short illness, and visitation is tonight at Conner Westbury with the funeral tomorrow at 11 o'clock at First Assembly. And that's all I have to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen?
I don't have anything.
Mr. McCord?
Yes, I echo the passing of Mr. Beasley, who was a great employee here with the city of Griffin. We're going to miss him. I'm trying to make it out. I guess it's between 6 and 8 tonight, in case I'm not able to make it tomorrow. Lost the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, a stately figure, participated in everything at the inauguration of Barack Obama. She sang, and I'm just glad that the country is showing and paying respect to her. And also the passing of John McCain, a real maverick, a real patriot in our country. There's 2 things that I'll never forget about Senator McCain. I think one was the mention by Barack Obama, President Obama, who told the story of Senator McCain being captured in Vietnam and staying 5 years as a POW, and had the opportunity to leave, and he refused because he did not want to leave the rest of the men who were there with him. That is a real hero. And if anyone, anywhere, in any office suggests that that man is not a hero, then they need to check their record. And I think the last thing that will always stick out with me, I remember the campaign in 2008 where a lady came forward during a campaign stop, and Senator McCain was speaking, and she grabbed the microphone and she started to talk and called Barack Obama an Arab out of his name. And Senator McCain grabbed the microphone and he took control of that situation and let not only that lady, but the rest of the world know that just because you have a difference with someone, it is not an excuse to use that to spew any type of racist comments. So that man will go down in history as a true champion of the American spirit, a real patriot, a maverick. And I hope the minutes show, and I hope that it's printed in the newspaper that the city lowered its flag to honor such a fine American. And I didn't always agree with his politics, but there's one thing you could say about Senator McCain: he was true to who he was. He did not put anything before being an American first. So I just wanted to take a minute just to say that about Senator McCain and those other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Ms. Murray?
I'm sorry, James Beasley was a wonderful friend of mine, and he helped me with my career so much here, and he was just a wonderful soul, and I'm thinking about all the wonderful things he did for this city, and he's going to be missed. I mean, I know he retired a long time ago, but I still kept in touch with him, and it's just a little shocking to me. I'm sorry, but thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Mr. Brock?
No comment, sir.
Mr. Tinsley?
I too would like to express my condolences to James Beasley's family. Also, Kenny Smith and our staff for our millage rate rollback. Hopefully we can continue to do that. And also, congratulations to those, I think they're already gone, those who graduated from the Fire Academy. And hopefully encourage those that are still here that are not city employees who've already attended, but Citizen Government Academy, also known as a brainwashing technique. I think a year ago I was in that, and here I am today, so be careful. But anyhow, all those classes are very good. They're very enlightening, and as Skip, my Sunday school class member, said earlier about the SPLOST, and hopefully if that does come up, we can get a new police department, because that building is quite antiquated. Right, Mike? That's all.
Ms. Ford?
Okay.
Only thing I'd like to mention is we have an honor of having Griffin High School graduate 4-star General Stephen Townsend will be coming to Griffin on September 10th. That's a Monday evening. He'll be leading the commissioning ceremony of Spalding High School and Griffin High School's cadets, and this will be happening at the auditorium on Taylor Street. And at that time, we'll be giving a joint proclamation from the city and county, recognize him for his great feat. This is on the level of being an Olympic medalist to being a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's unbelievable to be a 4-star. Griffin has never had one, and so we're going to pay our respects to him for what he's done. So hopefully you'll be available to come join us on Monday, September 10th. And until then, we'll move on. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Tinsley with a second. All in favor, please rise.